Hi, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to our live webinar for Advanced Bank Reconciliation for GP 2016. My name is Shaun and I'm a consultant, a GP consultant here at Nolan's Business Solutions. And today we're just going to talk about Advanced Bank Reconciliation, what it can do and why would you want to use it basically. Okay, so the agenda, what is Advanced Bank Reconciliation, or ABR for short? Why would you want to use it? And I'll go through a quick demonstration of the module and how it works and how you import a statement and so forth. And then at the end of it we can go through some questions. Bear in mind that due to time constraints, we probably won't be able to get into very complicated questions. So of course we will take any questions that you guys send us and we'll log them, and as well as send us via email, and we'll answer them as best we can. Okay, so what is Advanced Bank Reconciliation? Well, ABR is an easy-to-use tool that streamlines the process of bank reconciliation within Dynamics GP. As we all know, the standard bank reconciliation is quite limited to some of the functionality, and it doesn't make things easy when you actually want to go and create adjustment journals and things like that. So it's not as intuitive as it can be. That's where the ABR comes in. So why would you use our Advanced Bank Rec or ABR? Multiple bank accounts and currencies can be configured. So you can have an import statement from your bank that has multiple bank accounts in it. So you can have, you can set up in ABR all these bank accounts, and you can define which currencies they use, and then within one import file you can actually import that, and you can reconcile multiple bank accounts pretty much at the same time. Bank statements from most banks can be imported. I don't say all, because obviously there are some weird and wonderful formats out there, but mostly CSV and most text file formats can be imported. Transactions are easily matched and automatically matched to the bank statement. You can actually have reconciliation rules, whereas you say if it's one transaction type, you'd like to match it to this transaction type within GP, or if you want this transaction type, if you import in this transaction type, you want it to be able to create an adjustment journal within GP, like bank charges, for example. And bank transactions can be reconciled from any ledger, whereas I know in older versions of GP, the reconciliation, you can't actually reconcile transactions coming from the general ledger, whereas in this version you can reconcile transactions coming from any ledger, sales ledger, purchase ledger, or even journals and things going through your bank account in the general ledger. And you can actually create adjustments on the fly. So if a transaction does not exist on your bank accounts in GP, but you've imported it from your bank statement, you can go ahead and automatically create, if you wanted to automatically do it, or you can highlight the transaction in the reconciliation window and click a button that will create the journal for you, and then you just specify what the other side of the transaction will be in the journal screen. And you can consolidate GL transactions based on date, reference, amount, and or check number. So basically what this is, allows you to, if you have done multiple payments through your purchase ledger or payables, but on your bank statement that all those payments are a single figure on your bank statement, you can tell GP, I would like to consolidate these transactions into a single line, so it easily matches your imported bank statement line. And also with this, the ABR module comes quite a lot of reports to do with unreconciled lines, reconciled lines, unmatched lines, matched lines, just to make the process a lot easier. Okay, so we'll go through a demonstration of the software, basic setup. I'll show you how we import a bank statement. We'll go through how the reconcile rules work, and we'll create adjustments on the fly for an unmatched transaction, and we'll also do an actual reconciliation of transactions. And after that, we'll have a look at some of the reports that are on offer to show you what you've actually done, or your reconciled or unmatched transactions. Okay. So if I just jump over now quickly to our, I hope everyone can see that. The screen is a little bit small with regards to the resolution, but this is due to some of the tests I was running. The ABR screens were squashing some of the fields together. It's probably a setting that I need to just look into. But okay, so I've created a lot of shortcuts on my quick links home section. So basically it's just shortcuts to the actual advanced bank reconciliation module components, if you will. So obviously if you do decide you'd like to get this product and get us to install it for you and set it up, our consultants could easily create these quick links for you as well, which make it a lot simpler to navigate through the actual screens. So what we'll start with first is the statement import format. So basically in this screen, I've already set one up, so if I just go to it, in the screen you actually tell in Dynamics, this is the file that I would like to import, and you are going to be actually mapping the file fields to the dynamic fields. So basically the advanced bank reconciliation module gives you a set of fields that are basically common fields like amount, bank account number, check number, things like that, that you actually map to your bank statement file. So in this instance, I've got a CSV statement file. So if I navigate to that, I've just called it webinar statement. You can call it whatever you want, but just so you know, once you do an import and it's successful, ABR will rename this file to something else, and it will put it in an ABR completed or whatever folder you call it, to move the actual completed file in it, and it will take it out. So every time you re-download your bank statement, you just pop it in that same folder again and name it the same name, because ABR will expect the actual file name to be this name each time you want to do an import. Okay, so if you wanted to map destination fields, so all you would do is you would determine on your file. So if I show you how my import file looks like, so on screen we've got my example bank statement. All this is totally made up, so it's obviously not going to be 100% real life. So the basic columns are transaction date, bank account, sort code. Now the bank account and sort code are the fields that help you link to your actual bank account within GP. Okay, so that's quite important to obviously have that in the file. And obviously you got your date, and then you got your amount. And in this case, I don't have a debit and a credit. It's just a negative and a positive value, telling GP that one's going to be a payment, the other one's going to be a receipt or a deposit. Okay, so that's my example of my CSV file. Now if I jump back to GP, so basically once you've mapped these fields, so field 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on is the actual columns, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. So once you actually map it, the first column, the first row will show in the example here, telling you this is what GP is picking up in that column. is it correct? So it sort of like helps you trying to, when you're actually doing your mapping. Okay, so that's how you actually set up your import template. So next we have our reconcile rules. So the reconcile rules are basically where you would tell GP the transaction types I'm going to be importing in our bank statement and how they're going to be linking from my statement to the transaction types in Dynamics GP. So let's just say I want to link a check. So on my bank statement, I'm going to have a transaction type called CHQ or check, which I'll show you in a bit how you link this rule to the actual transaction type in the import statement. So check, and then for the date, I would say, well, I want it from the transaction date to be a few days before the date and a few days after. So with checks, of course, it could take 5 days to clear. So give yourself some room on the after date or the to date, so it helps GP to be able to match the transaction more accurately. And document or check number is exactly that. We're saying we want GP to match the check number, because you would assume that would be on your bank statement, to the statement. And then basically 1 to 17 is just to say from character 1 to 17 on the actual field that it matches to GP. And then finally, the Dynamics source document is the actual transaction document type that you want to match it to. So if I were to show you here, you would choose the relevant document. So for computer checks, for our check, and if we had something for cash receipts, it would be called CRJ for cash receipts, and you would create one for cash receipts. Okay, so I've got my list of rules here. So let's say for deposits, as an example, I'm matching the date, similar sort of date range, and I'm matching by document or check number. So my document and check number column from our bank statement, I'm saying that's going to equal my document number in Dynamics. And then for Dynamics source document, I'm saying I want it to be a cash receipt type document. So it will go and look in the bank account and try and match cash receipt type transactions. Okay. And then we have our bank setup. So this is the other key bit that we need to tell Dynamics. This is our bank account that we want to use in the bank rec, and it matches to which checkbook ID, because that's also important, because that will update, keep a log of your reconciliation balances and so forth against your check ID. So I've got an existing bank account that I created called Barclays, as an example. So I've gone and put the important details here, your bank account number. If you remember from my import statement file, I've got my bank account number and sort code. And then you've got other details. These details aren't that relevant, like account holder and address details. You can fill them in if you like, but the main bits are the ones, the account ID, the account number, your sort code, and then obviously your checkbook ID. And at the bottom here, this is the actual GL accounts, or the nominal codes that we link to this account ID. So you could potentially link multiple nominal accounts, or cash accounts, or bank accounts, or operating accounts, whatever you want to call them. You can link them all to this bank account. So when you do a bank reconciliation, it will pull through all the transactions from those associated GL accounts that you've set up here, and it'll pull through to the reconciliation for you to match them. So other options within here are the extract options. Now, extract options, you can automatically extract before reconcile. What it means by extract is there's a process to extract the transactions from those associated GL accounts against the bank account and put them into the bank reconciliation window, so you can actually match them. You can do that by date range if you'd like within the extract setup, or you can do it automatically with this option here, and every time you open the bank rec window, it will ask you, do you want to extract these options, extract the transactions for this bank account, and if you say yes, then we'll do it. Potentially there could be thousands of transactions, so it might not be a good idea to have this option ticked. So I'll leave it unticked, and I'll show you how we'll manually do it. So if I close that. The other option is reconcile rules. So this is the bit where we actually link in the transaction types from the bank statement to the reconcile rule that I showed you and created earlier. So in the bank statement, we've got a transaction type called check, CHQ, and we want to link that to the reconcile rule called check. So every time we import a bank statement and it's got a CHQ transaction type on it, it will come here and we'll go, oh, which rule does it link to? It links to the check rule, and it will tell Dynamics, try and find the transactions linked to the check rule, which are the payables check or the computer check types. Same for deposits here. I've linked the deposit type to our reconcile rule, and I've just made up 2 other transaction types because banks have got weird and wonderful transaction types in the import statements. I've just made up 2 of my own here, one called FPA, which is fast payments, and the other XPL, which is an imported transaction, basically. So I'll just say, click OK for that. Okay, so that's our bank account setup. Next we've got something called deposit groups. Now I won't go into too much detail about deposit groups, but I'll give you an explanation of how this works. A deposit group could be if you are making multiple payments across multiple suppliers and multiple invoices, but again, on your actual bank statement, it only appears as a single line transaction. So when you import it, you've got an amount of $50,000 or pounds, and in your bank account, there's actually 10 lines of £5,000 pounds to make that up. So what we could do is we could tell, if I just create, we can tell ABR or GP that we would like to group these transaction types together. So if I say source document and purchasing, I would like to group the check. So basically we're going to group checks part of the same payment run. So we need to tell GP how do we link these transactions that are part of the same payment run. And to do that, you use the GL audit trail code. However, there are other fields that you can link them together, batch ID, voucher number if you want to, but from a structural point of view and from how table links and how the transactions links, the GL audit trail code is the field that links transactions that are part of the same batch and were paid off at the same time. Okay, so then you would just insert that and click Save. And basically what that would do is when you actually extract your transactions through the extraction process, basically telling GP, I'd like you to go to the bank accounts and extract these transactions based on a date range, it will automatically group those transaction types specified in your deposit group together into a single line to try, and we'll try and match that to the single line on the actual import statement. Okay, so that's how deposit groups work. I'll show you a manual way of how you could achieve the same thing, almost similar to a deposit group, but manually, where you can match multiple lines against a single line in a bit when we do the reconcile bank transactions. Okay, so the next bit is to actually get started. So the process of actually doing a bank rec is you extract the transactions, import your statements, and then you go into the reconcile bank transactions window and you actually start to match and reconcile the transactions there. So first we'll go to extract transactions, excuse me. So here I'll give a date range. So if I'm going to do a date range of something like that. It's 2017 because I'm using the test data for GP, which always puts the year in 2017. You can also choose which bank accounts or bank setup accounts that you've set up in advanced bank reconciliation, you can do a range between bank accounts and extract all the transactions from those bank accounts. But I would suggest if you have large volume, maybe just stick to a date range. Okay, so if you were to extract, in my case it didn't extract too much because I've done this process before, but basically if you had loads of transactions, it would give you a percentage, then tell you how many transactions are being completed, and then it will tell you in your extract log, if I just show you to screen, how many transactions were extracted and if there were any issues, basically exceptions. But hopefully you should never have anything in the bottom here anyway. Okay, so the next step is to actually import your statement. Now, as we went through right in the beginning, I created one called Barclays. So because it's set up Barclays, it knows where to pick up the file and it knows exactly what the file name is. And upon completion, it will put the statement in that folder and it will rename the statement to that. Okay, so if I click on import, okay, great, import complete, and then it will, I've got intercompany set up, so that's why it's asked for an intercompany transaction. Okay, so that's the import done. So the next step is to actually do the reconciliation. So I will find my bank account ID. I've only got one, so it makes it easier. By default, it will go to the date at which I've extracted my details to. However, I could change that to an earlier date if I wanted to, the actual balance date. Oh, actually, hold on. Oh, never mind. And it will actually filter these transactions for you based on your date range. So at the moment, I've gone to 12th of the 4th. Okay, so as you can see there on my left are the actual transactions from Dynamics GP, so GP transactions. Then on the right are my transactions from my bank statement. Now at the top here on each side, you could switch between the middle column to show the reference or the document number. So some of my reconcile rules actually use the document number to match, and a couple of them actually do use the actual reference to match. So you don't have to switch between the two for it to work. This is just a visibility thing to show you, just to give you visibility of what the actual fields are. Same with on the left, you could do the same with the GP transactions. You can also sort it by date, ascending, descending. You can also sort it by amount if you want to. Sometimes it might be easier to sort it by amount on that side and then sort it by amount on that side, and you can actually get the transactions in line with each other to try and actually match them easier. So now you could the column that says match in it is the actual match ID. So once we've gone and we've told ABR to automatically match these lines, it will attempt to match the line and will put an ID in each of these columns. So if it matches it, this one will have an ID and this side will have an ID, and they will be the same to say that this side matches the other side. So from my screen you can actually see there one of the lines on each side has a 1 in it. So this is actually, these two have actually automatically matched. Basically what that is they haven't matched as such because I haven't actually told ABR to match anything, but what ABR can do is you can set up, if I just close the screen and show you, you can set up against let me just double check. you can set up against your bank statement to tell Dynamics if we import a type of charge or interest. Basically, say if I flick over to my statement import, I've got a line there that says bank charges, and it's got a CHG as a transaction type. Now, basically that means we don't actually have that transaction in our account system yet because it's bank charges, so we haven't accounted for it just yet. So we've told ABR that for this type, we would like to, for that transaction type, CHG, we'd like it to automatically create a journal inside Dynamics for us, post it to the bank account that we're reconciling, and the opposite, the contra account, would be our other bank charges account, or our other option is our interest income account. Okay, so when we do the import, Dynamics will automatically create, so if I find that match, automatically go now and create a bank charges journal for us. So that's what that has done. So it's created a bank charges journal for us, and it's automatically matched it as well. So we don't have to actually post a separate transaction for bank charges. It's automatically imported it for us. So if we were to click on that button on the top there, expand, it says, oh, it's a bank charges transaction. So that button just expands the line to show you more details, or it will show you the document reference, or if I switch over, it will show you the reference or the document number. Okay, and at the top here you can also actually search. So if I highlight amount and I click on the search, sorry, the filter, I can choose by date, or if I highlight, sorry, if I run it by date, I can run a filter by date, or if I filter by reference, I can tell it to search by reference as well. Okay, so you can use these filter options to filter this list if you only wanted to search for a specific transaction that you need to match if you have a lot of lines. Okay, so I'm not going to manually match. I'm going to use the reconcile rules that I've set up. So basically, in order to do that, in order to auto match, I use the propose function. So propose just means ABR proposes based on the reconcile rules that these are the items that can be matched against each other. Okay, so if I click on propose and then choose propose, you can see there Dynamics has gone through all the transactions based on our reconcile rules. The reconcile rule is only part of the actual matching process. Dynamics will attempt to match by date and obviously by value. Those are the first things to check. But if you got reconcile rules, Dynamics will go, okay, well, let's check based on the rule and then check by value as well. So if I sort by our matched and unmatched, so you can see there that I've got most of my transactions in my bank account have been matched, but some of them have not. And if I move to my bank statement, most of them have been matched except for two at the top. Now, this payment 2 is for the value of $59.50, and I know that $59.50 is actually these 7 payments here that have been done, that have been made, but only appear on my bank account as a single line transaction. So what I can do is I can just tick those, adds up to $59.50, and I could tell GP that I want to match it to that one, and then you click match and it will match them. So now if I go to the bottom there, you can see my payment 2 at the bottom there is matched to all my payment 2s over here. Okay, so that makes it quite a simple matching process if one payment in your bank statement needs to match to multiple transactions. Okay. However, I can still see one transaction is outstanding at the top of my bank statement there. It doesn't have anything to match to. So how do we actually why is it not matching? Effectively, this is probably because there is no transaction for the other charges in Dynamics either, and I have not set a an actual rule for it to pick up other charges, because on my bank statement the other charges didn't actually have a transaction type. It might be my bank has decided to do some admin fee that actually that they haven't supplied the transaction type. But if they have, you can set up a similar thing to the bank charges that will automatically post a journal. However, in this case, we don't have anything set up for that. So we have to create a journal manually so we can actually reconcile this transaction off. So in order to do that, we can tick the transaction like that, and then there is a Create GL Transaction button right there. If I click it, it will come up with a journal screen, standard GP journal screen. I can type in a reference. You can put it to the batch if you like, but then that just means you have to go and post it from the batch. So I will just ignore the batch ID. I'm happy with my date, but obviously you'd want to make sure that it's your same as your statement date, which it does default to. And then you just have to go and choose, because it will know that it's a credit on your bank account because it's a negative transaction. So it knows it's a credit. So you just have to choose the debit, the contra account, where it needs to go to. So I'm just going to make something up here. I'm going to choose petty cash. Automatically defaults to 25 in there, and I'm going to post that. And of course, if you have all these weird and wonderful reports that pop up, standard dynamic stuff. So what we need to do here is just wait, or you can refresh by, you can click on the amount or any column to refresh the screen, and you can see there it's now got my other charges posted journal in there, and it's automatically ticked, waiting for me just to click the match button, which I have, and now it's matched them off. So we have all our transactions now matched. Of course, in real life situation, you might have to post many journals, or you'll have loads, you might potentially have a few other transactions in your statement that haven't matched, and you might need to go and do other things within GP to go and actually add them, like actually do a payment through the payables module. However, I'm happy with my current reconciliation window. I'm ready to go and reconcile. So all I need to do here is click on the reconcile button. Are you sure you want to reconcile these transactions? Yes, I am. It gives you a report that you can print if you'd like it to. I'll print a screen. I'll print that one to screen as well, just to show you what they look like. So here we have our transactions. And showing that have been reconciled. The reconcile number 1 is because it's my first reconciliation, so obviously that would increment. It's not reflective of the actual match number. Okay, so if I close that, then we have our closing balance report, quite nice and neat, showing us what our outstanding deposits and checks are if we had any, or bank deposits if we had any that were outstanding. Okay, so there are other reports which I'll show you in a minute that you can use. There's also a reconcile inquiry that you can actually view previous reconciliations. So if I close the screen, so that's the actual reconcile process done pretty much. As you can see, it's quite quick and it's not that difficult. As long as you have your initial setup done correctly, picked up as many as the transaction types as you can from your import template, it makes the process a lot simpler, a lot quicker, especially for high volume. Okay, so the other bits that you have for the bank reconciliation module is you've got a statement entry where you can actually, let me choose my bank account first, would help. You can actually choose, you can actually enter a manual statement if you want to, or if a statement, you've just imported a statement and you want to delete a line or delete the entire statement, or you want to add a line, you can come in here to the statement entry and actually manually add a line or manually delete a line or delete the entire statement and re-import it again. Okay, so the statement entry is quite good in that way, or you can enter the entire statement manually yourself. It's up to you. I would advise importing it though. And you've got the reconcile inquiry. It's basically almost a duplication of the reconcile window, and you can actually view previous reconciliations. You could potentially have loads in here, so you might want to go by the actual reconcile number, and if you click find, enter the reconcile number like 1, and you can find it and it will show you the reconcile number 1. Or you could say I want to show by the reconcile date, so if I click find again, and then you enter the date at which the reconciliation was done. Okay, so it shows you the matched lines in a nice easy to see screen, and then obviously you can use that to double check your reconciliations to make sure everything's good. There are reconciliation reports, quite a few actually. There's the reconcile report that will show you your reconciled lines. Unreconciled report is exactly that, will show you unreconciled transactions. Bank details just shows you bank details, and then you've got a reconcile history, which is just similar to the reconcile report, but it shows you your reconciled history. Then you've got your closing balance, which is the same as the report that runs when you actually click on the reconcile button in the reconcile screen. The closing balance summary, it's the same report. Or you've got your at the bottom there, unmatched transactions. Now, the unmatched transactions is quite useful if you have hundreds of transactions in the reconcile screen and quite a few of them haven't matched automatically based on your rules. You can run a report to say, I want to see unmatched transactions. You can create an option and you can tell it based on specific bank, destination, go to your screen or print, and then you could click print and it will show you your actual unmatched transactions. Now if I view my reconciliation report, just choose my option here. That's basically, you can do your own option. I'll type in the SDS. I'll say I'd like to do it for my bank ID, Barclays to Barclays, or you can go date and then enter your date and then click insert and then choose our destination to be screen. If I click OK, click save, go back to that, click print, and then it will show you me and my reconciled transactions. Okay, so that's just one of the basic reports that we have. Lastly, there is a shortcut to all of these as well. Shortcuts in a way, maybe not shortcuts, but a different method of navigation. So if I go to financial here, then on the top here, on my bar, I've got ABR banks. This will show me a list of all my banks that I've got set up in ABR, and then you've got shortcuts to the individual bits that I just showed you, the processes like extract transactions, go reconcile, import your statement, statement entry, and so forth. Or if you go to ABR extract transactions, it will give you a list of all the transactions that have been extracted in the last 90 days or whatever options you want here. Okay, so it's just a quick method to view things, and you can actually do shortcuts to the individual elements of ABR. Okay, well that's pretty much it in terms of ABR. So are there actually any questions that you guys might have? Keep in mind that you can email us at that email address on my screen with any queries that you have. Maybe they're complicated or they're to do with currencies, and you have some queries on those. Well, maybe I'll work with currency accounts and so forth. You can email to us, sales@nolanbusinesssolutions.com, and we'll be happy to answer those questions for you in more detail. So it's up to you. If there are any questions that you have now, you can let me know, or you can email us and let us know.